Hey, what's going on? In this video, I want to talk about time management. And specifically, it's this idea that you can only manage your actions and not your time. I heard this or I read this in a book somewhere, and basically the part of this book was talking about how, there's no way you can actually manage time. There's a whole industry around this idea of time management and managing what you're gonna do with your time, but there's no way that you can actually manage time. So it's a little bit incorrect to talk about that or say that's what you're gonna do. So one of the first things I think is important is to reframe this as managing your actions, what you're gonna do in the time you're allotted. So for this video, I'm gonna talk about what I like to call personal action management system. I don't think I came up with that. Pretty sure I heard it somewhere, but that's what I call it now, and that's what I use. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna break down how I manage my actions, what I get done with the time that I have, and then a simple way that you can do that. And then I'm gonna give you a really basic way you can get started if you have no experience with time management or managing your actions. So first of all, I do this just so that I can get all the things done that I want in all these different time frames, whether it's every day, every week, quarterly, whatever you wanna call it. So there's a few different pieces to my personal action management system puzzle that I use. And I'm gonna give you a broad overview of what they are, tell you what tools I use, and then what tools you can use, because most of them, or most of these, it doesn't really matter. So the first one, just to jump right into it, is a goals list. So for me, a goals list is a list of everything that I wanna accomplish in the next 1 to 3 years. And I have it listed out by priority. Now you can just use something like a Google Sheet or just have this on a document on your computer. It doesn't really matter too much what it's on, but the important thing is to break down some of the long-term goals you have for yourself into a little bit shorter, realistic time frames, which for me is 1 to 3 years is a great sweet spot because you can definitely accomplish something in that time frame, and it gives you flexibility for when it's gonna happen, but it's definitely not a short-term goal. So basically, that's all it is. Goals list, prioritize the things I wanna accomplish in 1 to 3 years. I try to keep it realistic for that time frame, and then the other big piece of this is I usually focus on one at a time, maybe two, but I'll list out everything that I want to accomplish in that time frame, and I'll move on once I accomplish one, but for the time being, I focus on 1 or 2. So the next one is an active projects list. This is number 2 for my little system that I use, and this is an active projects list. This is everything that is a multi-step item that I want to get done in the next 2 to 5 months, or for most people, this could be quarterly. So for example, if I'm working on something for my business and there's a whole huge task that needs to get done with it, like maybe hiring someone. This would be an example of a project. Now, in this case, this is just my personal stuff. So I try to keep, my organization system for my work life and personal life separate. But in this case, it could be anything that I'm doing over the long term. So say I want to buy a piece of real estate, or I need to get a new house. So there's a lot of different steps that go into that. And so because there's all these different subtasks that need to get done, I'll classify that as a project. And as long as it's happening in, that 2 to 5 month time frame or about in that time frame, I'm gonna give it its own separate project in my little project list that I'm gonna list all the items out that I need to accomplish to move that item forward. So that's the next part. I have my long-term goals, and then I have my active, medium-term projects. And then the next one is gonna be a to-do list. So a to-do list is simply the high priority activities that I have coming up immediately, which for me means, in the next 1 to 2 weeks. And I'll usually get this list of to-do items just from things that pop into my life randomly that I want to record to make sure that I get them done, or they'll come directly from that projects list for projects that are happening in the next 2 to 5 month time frame, or some of them even could just come off the top of my head for things that I need to accomplish, to move myself farther along towards my goals. So this to-do list is just going to be a running list of tasks. I usually take the ones that I'm going to be doing in the next week and prioritize those in terms of the most important. But really, that doesn't end up being a huge, crucial part of this. Really, it's as long as I have everything written down that I really need to accomplish in the next 1 to 2 weeks. From there, I can then, further figure out how I'm going to schedule that into my time and do everything else with it. So it's not important what you're doing with it. It's just that you have everything that needs to get done in the next 1 to 2 weeks on this some sort of list. Now, this is the part where we kind of switch focus from just recording things and kind of having a strategy for how we're going to accomplish tasks to the tactical level getting them done. And for me, the way that I do this is I have an execution board, which is a lot of people call it a Kanban board. And in my case, I actually do use a Kanban board. It's a program online called kanbanflow.com. And so what this is it's basically a board where you can write out all your tasks and give yourself estimated amounts of time it's gonna take. And you can have one for each day of the week, basically, that you're listing out how much you're gonna get done. What I like about this is that it's a way for you to record your own time estimates for how long things are gonna take you, and then reflect, go back and look at how long it actually did take you and what you got done on the separate days of the week. So I'm gonna get into more detail in this in further videos, and I'm gonna link it below, but it's called Kanban Flow. You can use anything you want. If you're familiar with another program, Trello, which is another great web app that does something similar, you can set up boards where you can move tasks across it. If you're used to other project management software like Monday, that's a little bit more complicated, but they also do have a Kanban board function where you can move tasks across the various days of the week or the various stages of getting tasks done. But for me, I'm really just stacking up which tasks I'm gonna do on which day of the week. And for me, generally, I'll be planning tasks 3 to 7 days out. So in most cases, I'm resetting my board every 3 to 5 days. Because for me personally, I can't plan out a whole week and not have something get adjusted. Something always pops up, maybe it's a meeting, maybe it's something for business. So I end up having to readjust it. The important part of this is that I have a way to take tasks from projects or a to-do list and then actually fit them in on specific days of the week and give myself time estimates for when I think that's gonna be done so that I can start to get a cadence for different things that I'm accomplishing in my life. Now, the next part of this is kind of like the final piece that you need to have is gonna be a calendar. You need to have a calendar so that you can plan out specific events that need to happen in a specific time frame far in advance. If you have something that has to happen in a 2-hour window, but it's 6 weeks from now, it's very difficult to keep track of that type of tight time frame unless you're using a calendar. So you really need to be using that. So at a minimum, I would take those 5 pieces. I would have the long-term goals list, the medium-term projects list, the short-term to-do list, your daily execution board to figure out when things are gonna get done and try to get a rhythm with yourself for accomplishing those things. You wanna have a calendar. Those are the 5 pieces right there for the basic system. Now, 2 little bonuses or caveats for my system, things that might help you if you're wondering how you can implement a system like this. For work tasks in my business, I have a separate organizational system I use with the people that I work with in my business. So for me, that includes things like Google Suite, G-Suite, and Asana. Asana is a project management system that we use to record tasks for business. The important part for me is that, just because I have a personal life and a professional life, it doesn't mean I have any special time for either of those 2 areas of my life. They're all cutting into the same time. So what I like to do is I like to keep that daily execution board. In my case, I use Kanban Flow to filter down tasks from either of those different places. So whether it's coming out of Asana for something that has to do with business, or it's coming off my personal to-do list, eventually when I'm planning, 3 to 7 days out, when I'm planning on that daily task board, I will filter in all the tasks that need to get done both personally and professionally so that when I'm looking at what I'm gonna be doing over the next few days, I'm seeing that whole picture and not as many things are gonna be catching me by surprise or catching me off guard. Makes it easier to get things done without forgetting all the important things that you have to do. So the last part of that is just keep in mind that, this might sound like a lot if you're not used to this. If you already have a very detailed personal management system, then this might sound overly simplistic. It kind of depends on where your starting point is. But just so that everyone who has never tried anything like this has somewhere to go with this video or something they can try right now, if you don't have anything, I would suggest just starting with 2 things. So the first thing would be your long-term goals. I would try to create a list of everything that you want to accomplish in the next 1 to 3 years. I suggest starting with that because you can think of your long-term goals, decades down the road, but you want to at least have something you can be taking action towards every day that you're looking forward to getting to. So the thing that's nice about this 1 to 3 year time frame is that you're still going to be seeing tasks you're doing week in and week out that are moving you towards those goals. Some of these goals that are decades off, they might be things you're not even ready to start working on. There's other preparatory activities that need to take place or events that need to take place in your life before you can even work on them. So this 1 to 3 year time frame is great because you're gonna see yourself progressing towards those in real time, even though there are these far off goals that you're shooting for. So that's kind of cool. So I would start with that 1 to 3 year goals. And then the second thing I would start with is everything that you need to get done this week. So all your tasks that absolutely have to get done, I would try to list them all out, about a week in advance. And what this is gonna allow you to do do is it's gonna allow you to start looking at everything that you're getting done week to week and all these tasks you're listing. And then you can reference those with your long-term goals and start to ask yourself, is anything that I'm doing week to week moving me towards these long-term goals? And this is a great way to just start to reflect on your own action management and whether or not your life is kind of leading you to where you want to go, where you want to go in life, to try to take it to a more fundamental level of what am I doing? What are the actions I'm taking? Are these things that are actually going to take me towards my goals in life? So just start with the weekly to-do items and then your 1 to 3 year goals if you have never done this before. So okay, I hope you guys enjoyed that video. That was just a quick overview of some of the main parts of the organizational system that I like to use. In later videos, I'm gonna get into detail on each one of those and maybe do some screencasts of how I actually organize things and what it looks like as I'm moving through my week. So if you enjoyed this, please hit the like button and comment below letting me know what parts I missed or what other details you'd like to see. And as always, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe so that you're notified anytime that I come out with new videos. As always, thank you for watching.